What happens when one of the most beloved figures in Hollywood finally reaches his breaking point on live television? The studio lights were blazing, the audience packed shoulder to shoulder, buzzing with the usual pre-show energy. Nobody in that room, not the producers, not the hosts, not the viewers at home, had any idea what was about to unfold. As the View's opening music faded, the cameras cut to the panel. Joy Behar leaned forward with that trademark smirk, ready to stir the pot. Across from her sat Michael J. Fox, relaxed, warm, carrying that quiet charisma that had endeared him to millions for decades. Joy started pleasantly enough. "Michael, it's so good to have you here," she said. "You know, we've been talking a lot about celebrities and their causes. And I have to say some of them really milk their situations for attention." The room froze. Michael's expression remained gentle, but there was a flicker, tiny, sharp, unmistakable. "I'm sorry, Joy," he said softly. "Are you going somewhere specific with this?" Joy waved a hand, laughing airily. "Oh, come on. You know what I mean? Like we get it. You have Parkinson's, but doesn't it ever feel like, I don't know, your whole identity now, your whole brand?" A ripple of discomfort moved through the panel. Whoopi started to jump in, but Michael raised a hand, calm, controlled. "My whole brand," he repeated. "That's interesting. Tell me, when exactly did 3 decades of work become a brand built on illness?" Joy's smile wavered, but, true to form, she pushed on. "I'm just saying. Every interview, every appearance, it's always the foundation, the research, the Parkinson's. What about your actual work? What about the acting?" Michael's jaw tightened barely but enough for the audience to see. "You want to talk about my work?" he said. "Great. Let's talk about it. I've made 14 films since my diagnosis, appeared in 7 TV series, written 3 books. But yes, you're right. I also spend a significant amount of my time raising money for a disease that affects over 10 million people around the world. How awful of me." The room went dead quiet. Joy pressed forward, oblivious. "But don't you think there's something performative about it? Like you're constantly reminding everyone, look at me. Look at what I'm dealing with. Feel sorry for me." Something snapped. Michael leaned forward, his voice dropping into a low, cutting register no one had ever heard from him. "Feel sorry for me? Joy, let me explain something about performance. Every morning, I wake up in a body that does not do what I ask it to. Every day, I get to choose whether that's going to define me or whether I'm going to push through it. And I choose to push. I choose to use whatever platform I have to help fund research so that someone else might have a chance I didn't." "Michael, I didn't mean," Joy started. "No," he said sharply. "Let me finish." His voice rose not loud, but controlled, sharp as a blade. "You sit here in this comfortable chair, with writers feeding you lines and producers running interference while you make your clever little comments about people you don't know and lives you don't understand. You reduce someone's suffering, their work, their fight to a brand, to a performance. Do you have any idea how insulting that is?" Whoopi tried again. "I think we need to take a breath," but Michael wasn't done. "You want to know what's performative? This is performative. This show, this panel. This constant cycle of judgment you pass on people you've never walked a day in the shoes of." The audience shifted, no clapping, no gasping, just a stunned electric silence. "I came here today," Michael continued, voice trembling ever so slightly, "to talk about breakthroughs in Parkinson's research. To talk about hope. About progress. But instead, you decided to question whether I'm authentic enough for you." Joy swallowed hard, finally speaking. "Michael, I think you're overreacting. I was trying to have an honest conversation about celebrity activism." Michael let out a laugh, dry, humorless. "An honest conversation. Joy, You accused me on live television of building my brand on my illness. You implied I perform my symptoms for sympathy. That isn't honesty. That's cruelty dressed up as commentary. Sarah tried to step in gently. Michael, I think what Joy was trying to say, maybe not in the best ways, that sometimes people wonder how celebrities choose their causes and how much becomes part of their persona. Michael turned to her, softening slightly. Then back to Joy. No one here is confused about what happened. You didn't question my choices. You questioned my integrity. Joy bristled. I never said you were milking anything. I said some celebrities do, and I asked if you ever worry about perception. No, Joy, Michael said quietly, coldly, firmly, and the entire studio braced for what came next. That's not what you said, Michael fired back, his voice firm and unshakable. You looked me in the eye and told me I'd turned Parkinson's into my identity, my brand. You asked if it was performative. Don't rewrite it now just because you don't like how it landed. Sonny Hostin leaned forward, palms open, trying to ease the pressure in the room. I think we're all feeling a lot right now. Michael, your foundation's work has been extraordinary. Nobody can deny the impact you've had on research and funding. Michael nodded gratefully. Thank you, Sonny, and that's exactly the point. I didn't choose this disease. But once it entered my life, I had to decide what to do with it. I could have disappeared. I could have let it quietly end my career. Instead, I chose to be open, to use whatever time and influence I had to raise awareness. And apparently, he turned back to Joy. That makes me inauthentic. Joy bristled, her frustration rising with her voice. You're twisting my words. I was talking about celebrity culture in general, and now you're making this all about you. The irony hung in the air, so thick you could feel it. Michael stared at her long, steady, unblinking. When he finally spoke, his voice was low but devastating. Joy, you invited me onto this show. You brought up my condition. You questioned my motives. And now you're upset that I'm responding. Do you hear yourself? Alyssa Farah Griffin jumped in, trying a strategic redirect. Can we maybe focus on what the foundation is actually doing? Michael, what are some of the breakthroughs you're excited about? But Michael cut in, his tone controlled but unmistakably wounded. You know what, Alyssa? I would love to talk about breakthroughs. I would love to talk about how we've helped fund studies that are improving treatment options. How we've improved the quality of life for thousands of patients. How we're getting closer to understanding the mechanisms behind neurodegeneration. A beat. But I think we need to address what just happened first. Because this, he gestured softly toward Joy, is exactly why people stay silent. This is why people hide their illness. Because the moment you step into the light, the moment you try to turn your pain into purpose, someone like Joy steps forward to question whether you're doing it for the right reasons, as if you need to pass some purity test before you're allowed to advocate for yourself. Joy folded her arms, defensive and rigid. That's not fair. I've supported plenty of causes. I've talked to plenty of people with illnesses. I'm allowed to ask hard questions. Hard questions. Michael's voice lifted not in anger, but in disbelief. A hard question would be asking how I balance advocacy with my privacy. A hard question would be about the ethics of celebrity involvement in medical research. But what you did was call me a fraud. There's a difference, and you know it. Okay, Whoopi interjected firmly, a hand raised. Everyone needs to breathe. We're all adults here. We can disagree without turning it personal. Michael turned toward her, the pain unmistakable. With all due respect, Whoopi. It became personal the moment my integrity was questioned. You've known me for years. You know my work. So tell me honestly, do you think I'm performing this? Do you think I'm using Parkinson's as a branding strategy? Whoopi froze, caught between truth and diplomacy. Michael: I think Joy's delivery was off. But I also think she was trying to explore a legitimate question about how we present ourselves publicly. Michael gave a sad, knowing smile. That's a diplomat's answer, Whoopi, not an honest one. And it sidesteps what she actually asked. The question wasn't about image. It was about whether I'm authentic or whether I'm exploiting my illness. And I'm telling you right now, that question is deeply offensive. Joy finally seemed to register the crater she'd created. Look, maybe I could have phrased it better. But you have to admit, in today's world, a lot of activism is performative. People jump on causes for clout, for attention, for relevance. I was just wondering if you ever worry about how you're perceived. Michael let out a sharp, weary breath of a laugh. Do I think about perception? Joy, my hands shake. My balance falters. My voice changes. Every public appearance I make, I am vulnerable in front of millions. I am constantly aware of how I'm perceived. But I don't let that stop me from doing work that matters. The audience was locked in, some nodding along with Michael, others stunned by the rawness in the air. Sarah leaned in again, trying gently to reframe man the moment teetered on the edge of something even bigger. Michael, your honesty right now is really powerful, Sarah said softly. I think a lot of people at home are feeling what you're feeling. You know what I hope they're feeling? Michael asked, turning toward the audience. I hope they're feeling angry. I hope they're feeling frustrated. Because this conversation we're having right here, right now, he tapped the table lightly, happens to people with chronic illnesses every single day. The audience leaned in. People have their pain questioned, their limitations dismissed, their motives challenged. They're told they're exaggerating, seeking attention, being dramatic. It's exhausting. It is dehumanizing. Joy's expression shifted uncertain, softer. Whether it was genuine remorse or the slow shock of realizing the optics, something in her posture changed. Michael, she began quietly, I can see that I've hurt you. That wasn't my intention. Michael lifted his hand, stopping her. Joy, I don't want an apology you don't understand. This isn't about my feelings being bruised. This is about the message you're sending. When you question the authenticity of someone's advocacy, especially when it's tied to their own health, you're not just attacking me. You're undermining every person who's trying to make meaning out of their suffering. Sunny jumped in, sensing the smallest opening for healing. That's an important point. Michael, what has it meant to you to hear from other Parkinson's patients over the years? Michael inhaled slowly, grounding himself. That's what makes all of this worth it. The letters, the emails, people telling me that seeing me work, seeing me show up, gave them hope. People who were diagnosed and thought their lives were over until they saw me in a movie, or on a stage, or sitting in a chair like this. He looked back at Joy. That's not a brand. Joy, that's not performance. That's human beings reaching out to each other in the dark. For the first time all morning, Joy looked genuinely affected. Her voice was small, raw. Didn't think about it like that. No, Michael said. You didn't, and that's the problem. You made a flippant comment about something you've never lived. And the worst part? You have a platform. Millions of people listen to you. So when you say what you said today, you shape how the world thinks about disability, about advocacy, about courage. Alyssa spoke carefully. Michael, what's something you wish people understood about living with Parkinson's? Michael's expression softened, less fury now, more heartbreak. That it's not just tremors or stiffness. It's waking up every day and praying your body cooperates. It's the mental toll of watching yourself change. It's the fear-deep, constant fear of becoming a burden to the people you love. His voice dropped. And when you take all of that and try to channel it into something meaningful, something that can help someone else. That's not exploitation. That's survival. The studio was silent. Not television silence. No coughs, no movement. Even the camera operators were still. Whoopi's voice was gentle. Michael, I think everyone here respects what you've been through and what you've done. Michael turned to her, his eyes steady. Do they? Because 5 minutes ago, Joy was implying I was faking sincerity. Respect is not what you say about someone when it's convenient. Respect is believing them when they tell you the truth. Joy's eyes shimmered. Whether they were tears of shame, regret, or simply the pressure of the moment, no one could tell. Michael, I'm sorry. I really am. I was trying to be provocative. I went too far. I didn't think about the impact. Michael studied her long enough for the audience to hold their breath. You know what, Joy? He said finally. I believe you. I don't think you meant harm. But that's almost worse, isn't it? It means this kind of casual cruelty, this reflex to question someone's authenticity has become so normal. So baked in, you didn't even notice you were doing it. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. This is, honestly, one of the most real conversations we've ever had on this show. Real, Michael echoed, almost to himself. You want real. Real as that after this taping, I'm going home. I'll take my medication. I'll do my physical therapy. And then tomorrow, I'll wake up and do it again. And again, and again. He looked around the table slowly, deliberately. The foundation, the advocacy, the interviews. That's just me trying to carve something good out of a reality I didn't choose and can't control. Sonny leaned forward, voice soft but steady, Michael. And the entire room braced for whatever he was about to say next. And for what it's worth, Sonny said gently, I think you've done an extraordinary job. The Michael J. Fox Foundation has raised hundreds of millions of dollars for real research. Thank you, Sonny, Michael replied. And that's exactly what frustrates me about what just happened here. We could have used this time to talk about the science, about the breakthroughs, about the therapies that are giving people hope. We could have talked about how folks at home can get involved, how they can support the work that actually changes lives. He shook his head. Instead, we spent it defending the basic idea that I'm a human being trying to help. Joy wiped at her cheeks. You're right. You're absolutely right. And I'm sorry. I'm genuinely, truly sorry. Michael studied her for a long moment. I appreciate that, Joy. I do. But I want you to remember this feeling. The next time you're about to make a clever comment about someone's life, someone's struggle, someone's choices, words have weight, especially yours, especially on a platform like this. Whoopi tried to find the landing. I think we all learned something today. I know I did. Michael pushed himself up from the chair. For a moment, everyone thought he was walking off the set. But he stayed standing, looking each host in the eye. I didn't come here expecting any of this. But maybe it needed to happen. Maybe people needed to see what it looks like when someone finally says, enough. When someone stands up and says, you do not get to question my truth. You do not get to turn my life's work into a branding exercise. You do not get to imply that my pain is a performance. Then he turned straight to the camera. If you're living with a chronic illness, if you have a disability, if you've ever felt like you needed to justify your suffering to anyone, hear me. You don't. Your experience is real. Your advocacy is real. And anyone who tries to diminish that says a whole lot more about them than it does about you. The applause started slowly, one person, then two, but within seconds, the whole studio was on its feet. Joy was openly crying. The other hosts looked stunned, shaken, moved. Michael nodded to the audience, then glanced back at the panel. Thank you for having me, he said softly. This time, he did walk off. The cameras stayed fixed on the panel as they tried and failed to collect themselves. Joy struggled to speak. Whoopi placed a hand on her shoulder. The applause didn't stop. It filled the room long after Michael vanished backstage. That moment changed everything, not just for the show, not just for the conversation around advocacy, but for anyone watching who had ever felt dismissed, doubted, questioned. Sometimes it takes one person finally saying the thing everyone else has been too afraid to say. So what do you think? Did Michael go to far roar? Did Joy have it coming? Hit subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments below.